I'm super delighted to be here with two very old friends and a new friend. Mariona, can I call you a friend?
New
Amazing.
friend, for sure.
Amazing. So, and we're gonna, there is something very mean in the arrangement of this because they're going to be today rapporteurs of the thingy. And what a horrible word to, challenge a South American to say rapporteur. So I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but they are going to be reporting back on what we heard. The sessions were structured around three thematic pillars. And I'm sure all of you suffered, like me, from massive FOMO because you were in a room and you wanted to be in many rooms. You wanted to use the artificial intelligence from day one to multiply yourself and just listen to everything. Well, you couldn't. But thankfully, we have the three that will take on the very ungrateful task of trying to summarize in 5 minutes, threatened by the team there, all the discussions that we heard that were insanely insightful and profound and provocative, and really, I felt a very strong call to action, as you surely did, Chris.
Yes. So I'm going to summarize very briefly the challenges because it's important to know what we want to change it, right? So I'm going to look specifically at the track on capital mobilization. So summary of the challenges very quickly. Only 12% of the SDGs are on track. Capital flows to emerging markets are not going in the right direction. Actually, they're retracting by 22%. And only 13% of climate finance is going to emerging markets. So we have still a very, very, very long way, very steep mountain to climb. So we really have to shift gears and accelerate all of the great solutions that we have heard about if we want a just and sustainable world. So I'm going to summarize the very rich discussions in like 4, I would say, categories of solutions, because that's why we are here, right? Solutions. The first group around demand, the second around DFIs. We heard a lot about DFIs and the role of DFIs. Also about investors, what's the role of investors in this conversation, and finally around governments. So first, around demand, we still haven't really solved how we're supporting and how we're growing businesses that are investable opportunities for SDGs. So really there, the role is for probably for donors, philanthropists, catalytic investors to step up and support much, much more the incubators, the accelerators, the development of the pipeline. The second group is really around the DFIs. They play an incredibly important role at the middle of what I would call the hourglass, on sort of on the top, the big institutional investors, the capital flowing somehow to the DFIs that then they invest in emerging markets, in the SMEs, and the development of opportunities that will develop the SDGs. Now, what we are seeing is that unfortunately the DFIs are mobilizing only $0.4 on average of private capital for every dollar invested. So
0.4?
Yes, it's not enough. Increase. It's not enough. Well, it's a very rough calculation, but it should be much closer to 10x. 10x. So very steep mountain to climb, right? So how do we get there? First of all, I think that we have to kind of look at the immediate solutions, and that's some of the discussions that we've heard around using the solutions that are already there, the instruments that are already there, the guarantees, the insurance, where I had a really good conversation with an investor working in emerging markets, looking at first loss, which is really important but very rare. So helping all of us work better with DFIs to implement those instruments in the markets. And then the third group, investors. What do investors do to invest into the SDGs? One of the solutions that we think and we see has been very successful and has been discussed in various sessions actually are the green sustainability SDG social bonds, which is now nearly a 4 trillion market, right? So potentially a very, very powerful solution to invest into emerging markets, into the SDGs.
And more of them are linking their performance to impact, right?
Exactly. So they're becoming more sophisticated into how they measure how well the capital is actually going towards impact, how it's being achieving the outcomes that are intended. And I want to call your attention to the fact that at this summit we have launched a GSG report on this topic, and I invite all of you to have a look at this new report that has been published yesterday as a result of the summit. And the final group of people and organizations are the governments, because in the end they are the ones that are the shareholders of the DFIs. They can encourage the DFIs to be more catalytic in mobilizing private capital, and they are the ones also that can change rules, regulations, like what the Argentine government did, for example, that allowed Promujer to raise successfully now 2 gender bonds that will support women, underserved women, to kind of develop their livelihoods and have better lives for themselves and for their families. So that's really a great example of the role of governments in all of these conversations. So
Chris, you've been in this business and in this organization for quite some years. I feel you energized. Do you think we'll get through in the coming years?
Well, it's not going to be easy, for sure. But my really energy and my optimism comes from the initiatives, such as the initiatives that are led by the NABs, for example, the ones that we've talked about and that you've heard about in Ghana, the Fund of Fund, or the wholesaler in Nigeria. Those are 2 really excellent examples of solutions that are at scale, and that really provide a contextual answer to specific gaps in markets, and they're led by NABs. And those are the solutions that we should be supporting.
Thank you so much. Santi, you've been multiplying yourself to be in all decisions that had to do
I try to.
Yeah, with impact transparency. And basically we created a whole track on that for the very simple but very fundamental fact that we, as citizens, as investors, as consumers, we make decisions with incomplete information, and we've been doing that for decades and decades, forever, and we kind of gladly accept that. But something is changing, and we think it's one of the main levers for change to deliver impact economies. Sometimes the topics are a bit intimidating because they can feel a bit technical, but hopefully we put together sessions that were provocative, educational, and that gave participants some tools to go back to their businesses, to their countries, and keep advancing this. So what did you hear?
Definitely. Seb, we have been working on this for some time now, but I think we reached to a point in which there's general agreement that impact transparency is and will be probably one of the key enablers for capital to flow where it can have the most impact. And also it is recognized as probably one of the most important levers for the system change that we're looking for. Because if we want to see investment decisions being made under the triple lens of risk, return, and impact, we need to provide investors with complete and quality information to make their decisions. So, but at least for me, and I think for most of us here in this room, impact transparency it's not an end by itself, but it's a means to guide action. And I recall Martin Gould yesterday saying, information is good, it's valuable, but it's action what makes real change. So we have to understand impact transparency as part of a broader process, which is impact management. And I think impact management will be actually the lever for systemic change. And well, impact management is how the companies understand, act on, and communicate their impact on people and planet. And impact transparency probably about communication. And also we had former Commissioner Alison Heronley saying that we need to speak a common language. And I feel very encouraged by the progress that we are making in creating that common language at the global level.
And Santi, yesterday Our friends at the International Foundation for Valuing Impacts, they must be here somewhere around, and the Value Balancing Alliance, they challenged all of us to think beyond impact, only sustainability disclosure, to include the monetary evaluation of impact. And yesterday, they provoke us saying we should be thinking about impact accounting, not only impact valuation. What do you make of that?
Well, alongside all the progress in terms of disclosure standards, I think that the work being done by IFBI, BVA, and other organizations valuing impact is very important to create that common language, because that common language should be close to investors' language, and assigning monetary value to impacts is one way to bridge that gap between the language of sustainability and the language of investment.
Amazing. I think we are discussing nothing short of changing the mere DNA of capitalism.
It is about that.
Yeah, it is about that. So we are all in that mission together, and I hope we can continue to work together with all of you. Mariona, my new friend, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you. And
Thank you for hosting us here.
Thank you for coming, all of you, here to Malaga again.
How many are from Spain? I didn't say anything. Raise your hand. Thank you to all our Spanish friends for being so amazing hosts and friends to us. Muchas gracias a todos realmente. Un aplauso para ellos. And to Spain now, of course. Thank you so much. Mariona, you have to tie the knot, because when we say our third track was about driving impact economy. So when we change the DNA of capitalism and we change consumption as a macroeconomic aggregate, when we have more information to make informed decisions as consumers, the world of investment obviously being disrupted by transparency about impact investment, but also, as Chris was saying, government activity. Because not only we have incomplete information as consumers or investors, also as citizens, because basically we have no idea what the governments do with our money. We know they tell us how much they spend, but we have no idea about the outcomes of that spending yet, and that's also changing. So there was a dedicated track to mix these two things and pave the way and set the vision for us to achieve impact economies. So I think of the more ungrateful task, this is the most complicated. But Mariona, you're bright. Tell us.
I'm not bright, so the speakers were bright. I'm just going to express what they have shared. And I will take your words about talking about the citizenship. No? So looking at the current situation in many places of the world, many of the citizens can feel overwhelmed. We have exceeded 6 of the 9 planetary boundaries, being climate change just one of them. All of us and all of the citizens are suffering the effects of climate change, but most vulnerable are receiving a far stronger negative effect in their lives. Actually, Christina, you're pointing this out also. This is happening in developing countries, but also in developed countries like Spain, that we are suffering a strong draw. And equality is growing everywhere, so citizenship can be absolutely overwhelmed. But social and environmental issues are absolutely interconnected. And a lot of, there are good news. A lot of focus has been done in looking for solutions to tackle environmental challenges. But we cannot forget, and this is something that we have heard in the several meetings, that we need to focus also on social challenges. Actually, Rosemary Addis, who is a GSG ambassador, shared yesterday that last April, the General Assembly of the United Nations adopted a resolution promoting the social and solidarity economy. It recognizes that the social and solidarity economy can strongly contribute to the achievement of the SDGs. We heard also Victor Meseguer, the Special Commissioner for the Social Economy in Spain. We heard Felipe Almeida from Portugal Social Innovation, and Zhu Hu from the Chinese Inclusive Finance Institution, so who came from very far away from here, sharing also the power of social economy organizations to cope with all the social and environmental challenges. Actually, during the pandemic, these organizations have shown to be more resilient to the impact of crisis, protecting employment and promoting decent jobs all around the world. We've seen cases around Europe, here in this summit, Korea, China, Brazil. And furthermore, we have heard that startups, entrepreneurs sometimes feel really lonely when they are looking for solutions to these big challenges. If they get into the umbrella of the social economy, they are not so alone. And actually, you were talking also, Sebastian, Santiago.
Happens all the time, eh? I'm Santiago, Sebastian, we are used to it.
Everything is with us, and both of you come from Argentina, so that it is important to have, when you make decisions, to have impact in the center, and the social economy has in its DNA and in the governance of the organizations impact in the center. So we have also seen in all the sessions that the solutions never come from working alone. So this is key to work in partnership. To promote impact economies, we must be inclusive in all senses. To tackle poverty and inequality, all stakeholders must work together with a common purpose in the center that aligns all of them. We need the innovation, the energy of startups and social enterprises. We need the courage and determination of impact investors, different sort of impact investors, impact first, return first, all of them. And we also need the catalytic and patient capital from foundations. We've heard Ruth Passerman from the European Commission pointing out how important it is to build trust in the system, to enable the contribution of different actors from different perspectives and expertises. And here I go to what also Santi was sharing with us. So data is a must. If we need to build trust, we need data and impact transparency. We need the engagement of the public sector with several roles, and this is key. We have had here many public actors who are showing their support, but I wanted to point out also the different roles that they can have and that they must have. As investors, mobilizing capital. This has been said by Christina also. But even more important of this role is the role defining public policies that facilitate the growth of innovative finance solutions, of, for example, social impact bonds that have been shared here, and also the collaboration in this sort of instruments with foundations, as we have seen in the case of Colombia. At last but not least, it is required to create an ecosystem where market builders can offer the support that is needed. So just to now conclude this long part of me, so being connected to the real people and social challenges, being conscious, and I think that this is really important, of not leaving anyone behind. We need to be innovative, we need to be collaborative, transparent, and courageous.
Thank you, Mariana. I love that. Sorting by the issues. Sorting by the issues and putting the issues and the people and the communities first on the planet. You know, I see the red in the numbers. When I see the red in the numbers all of these days, I feel sorry, I feel sad, I feel anxious. But that won't prevent me from saying, we said we made new friends, we learned something new, we saw old friends, we provoked each other, we educated each other. But we need to keep working, right? I mean, we haven't achieved anything. This is the moment where we get together, we gather energy, we go back to what we do, and we come back with renewed strength. So, Chris, pick one call to action to these lovely people.
Just one.
Just one.
Bring new friends next time.
Bring new friends. Bring new friends. Who will bring a new friend? I will bring a new friend. Amazing, very good. Santi?
I would say help your key stakeholders learn this new common language that is impact transparency.
Very good. Mariana, if you want to say something to the global audience, if you want to say something to the Spanish ecosystem?
I would say keep on doing like this. Keep on working together, keep on being together different countries, keep on moving and having presential meetings like this one, and keep this energy and passion.